Okay, I am in the pasture, past the kingdom at the end of the driveway. Now, it's not a real big pasture, but this is the pasture used in the book where they have to travel through. Excuse the sun there. They have to travel through on their way to Pursley's Woods. And it's just not, it's not humongous. In the books, it's a gigantic pasture, just fields, and it takes them a long time to get from the road, which is actually, you probably can't see it, and that's probably a good thing, but to get from the road where they start to Pursley's Woods. Now, Pursley's Woods, you see those trees? That's pretty much it. You can see Pursley's Woods, or it's whatever, you know, it doesn't have an actual name. In the book, it's Pursley's Woods. But you can see Pursley's Woods from the road pretty easily. It's got evergreen trees all scattered around. These actually were much smaller 12 years ago. So they've really grown. And this is the pasture that, like, you know, Zebulon and his wild goats roam. The pasture, this is Bud Pursley's property, and it really was Bud Pursley's property. Where the traveling carnival, where J.Q. Lazarus and his carnies set up. And so this is it right here. So this pasture was used for many purposes throughout the series. There's cotton flying around. But it's always been a cool place for me to go when I was a kid. And so here it is. And there are wild thorn bushes, wild berry thorn bushes. They're right there. This is it. I hope it's enjoyable for you to see. Okay, in the rifle lair, this is Pickerel Corner that I'm at, right here. Okay, Pickerel Corner. Now, this is the old building that used to be Lee's Tire Shop. At least I think it was, unless it was Lee's Glass. But in the book, The Rightful Heir, where Princess lives, this is Lee's Tire Shop. It's old, it's run down. It's got dirty white brick though, and there used to be two big glass windows. You can see they're boarded up now, but that's Lee's Tire Shop in the Rightful Heir, and it's in other books too. And then right next to it is, now this is the little shack building that I pictured the hermit in The Ending Feud living in. Something like this. It's very crummy. Nobody lives in it, but in The Ending Feud, this is what's out near Hermit Hill, or at the bottom of Hermit Hill, an old shack. And then right next to that, this is great. There's all these landmarks from the book. This is the house I kind of picture Mrs. Crane living in The Rightful Heir. It's but I picture her out in the country. Okay, so these are just buildings at Haverhill, or I mean Pickerel Corner, that aren't necessarily at Pickerel Corner in the books, but Mrs. Crane dies from the rattlesnakes. That's Jonah's owner in The Rightful Heir. That's what the house kind of looks like. There's a big old evergreen tree right there. And finally, right here is Bonnie's Bait Shop. I just mentioned it briefly in the book. It's behind that RV. But when I was a kid, that was a bait shop that I would always go to and get candy, and I would ride my bike here and I would get like fishing lures and fish, and they had all these minnows. That building smelled like minnows. But that's Pickerel Corner in a nutshell. So that was kind of like the place to, it wasn't the the place to go when I was a kid, but it was a fun place to go. My friend lived next to it, and I always loved riding my bike. I lived a couple miles away, so I would always ride my bike to Pickerel Corner, and so I didn't know those buildings were gonna be special to me later on in life, but they are, because those are in the books. Okay, I pulled over on the highway so you can see this silo. This is towards Leon. I've never been up to this silo, but it's covered in vines, and this is at somebody's house. I don't know who it is, but I'm not showing the house. I'm just showing you the silo that they have. This really was an inspiration for the silo in the ending feud. And so, but this, I would see this all the time, this silo, and it just made me, this is the silo I kind of think of. Now, it's obviously not in front of a huge, tall hill, Hermit Hill, but I don't know where Hermit Hill would be. When I was in high school, I always heard about this place called Hermit Hill outside of Augusta, Kansas, and I never saw it. Supposedly this hermit lived there, and never knew the backstory on that, but it just sounded cool. So this is the silo that I kind of was thinking of, only maybe it'd be more like that in the book because it's leaning, and then eventually it crashes. Okay, finally we are in the swinging town of Leon. Alright, here's the Leon City Park in the traveling carnival. J.Q. Lazarus and his carnies go to Lions Park, but this is the park it's based off of. Downtown Leon, you might recognize it on the front cover of the Traveling Carnival. There's the Prairie House. Sometimes it's open, sometimes it's not. Oh man, you guys are in for a real treat right here. Here we have the home of the Leon Losing Lions football team, although they're not the Losing Lions, because in the ending feud at the very end, they win a game. But this is the field for the Blue Stem Lions. Leon Losing Lions are based off of the Blue Stem Lions football team, but that is the sacred field that they play on. Yay! Okay, now I'm taking you to one last place, and this is a biggie. This is a place called Bois D'Arc. It's spelled like Boys Dee Ark. Must be French, I guess. But the first time I ever heard about Bois D'Arc, my friends and I in middle school, my friend's brother who was in high school, he and his buddy said there was a ghost town that was haunted, and we had never heard of it before, and they had never been to the place before. And so we went out looking for this place, and it was just like, I was terrified. I was scared out of my mind. Okay, so we're driving around the country. Probably took us a half hour just driving on roads. And finally, because we were told about this old creepy bridge, finally, we went around some curves. I just went around some curves here in the car. And oh, I hope I don't get stuck here. We finally found this old, crickety old bridge. And as you can see, it looks like it's under construction. It is, obviously. We drove over it, didn't know if we were gonna fall through. And this was back in like the late 80s, early 90s or something. And yeah, as you can see, it's an old bridge, and this is in January, just so you know. So here's the story. This bridge, this river, is in book 6. Okay? And here's one side of the river. There's another side of the river. This is actually going to play a big part. You might be looking at the front cover of book 6. Now, obviously, it's going to change. There's going to be a lot of things added. But that's what I envision the front cover looking like. This right here. Now, what will be on that cover, you'll have to wait and see. But when we drove over the bridge that first time, hey, there's a doggy. There is a house right there. Hey, doggy. But there's an old factory. They would have tree seeds out of that place. And the story is nobody can stay overnight in that because it's too haunted. They're always too scared to stay the whole night, and so they leave. Anyway, that building's important, and so in my series, book 6, you're seeing a glimpse of the places that are going to be in the final installment in the Kingdom at the End of the Driveway series. On behalf of the dog here, I hope you had a good time watching this little tour. Bois dArc. This is very important. A very, very big place in my 6th book. Why? Well, you're going to have to read it to find out. And I'm going to have to write it for you to read it. So I got to get busy. You dig?
Ay, ay, ay.